Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan. And may I allow myself to say, welcome back to the show. I've been on a hiatus. I got some I asked for some time off from the Booker. The Booker granted it. So CZ's been steering the ship, but rest assured, you were in good hands, but now you're back in the smooth, soft hands you always remembered. I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. So happy you have found us. So happy you have joined us. We've got another exciting episode here, another first timer in the studio. So we've always enjoyed those conversations. More about that in a moment. But I'd be remiss if I did not introduce to you my tag team partner, my co-host. We are the co-champs of the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Championship Network. He is the one. He is the only. He is the man who has been out there singing the songs, playing the tunes, and beating the drums the last couple of shows. He is the Wizard CZ. Wizard, thank you for holding down the fort. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm a little on the tired side, but I feel good. We've had a couple of good shows despite you being gone. I think I've said it on every show I've done this weekend, but I'll give another shout out to Landon Bull. Congratulations on his graduation. Very awesome. And I just want to remind everybody, we are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. But Nick, like you said, we've got a first timer on the show, and he's someone from outside of our area. So we're getting we're getting out there a little bit, and I love it.
One of the wonderful parts of this show is bringing somebody in who you've never talked to before, and we're going to talk about wrestling. And you're going to find out that wrestling is a universal language, and we're going to probably talk for the better part of the next hour about wrestling. So without further ado, CZ, go ahead.
Let's bring him in. He is from Cheyenne, Wyoming is where he's based out of. His name is Sean O'Reilly, better known as the Angel of Mercy. Sean, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right, boss. And yourself?
We're doing pretty good here. Can't complain.
Well, you can. It's just who's going to listen.
Right. Nobody's going to listen. Yeah, nobody's going to listen. You can complain all you want. With that being said, I always ask, and welcome to the show. We're glad you're here, by the way. We love having first-time guests on because outside of other than wrestling, I don't know anything about you. Okay, that's what we have here in town. I ask everybody the same question. The first question I ask is, why pro wrestling? What was it about pro wrestling that I'm assuming you've been a fan for a long time? Maybe it's wrong to assume that. What got you in? What was it that when you saw pro wrestling just kept you coming back or wanting to come back?
So I have been a big fan for pretty much all my life since I was actually 4 years old. What actually got it stuck with me was the storytelling and the art form of it. Grew up, of course, in the Attitude Era and stuff, where it was more of the rated R, not PG-13 era. That's what got me too. But it was mainly the storytelling and the art form of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Everybody's got a different answer, and I love to hear what it was. I mean, for me, it was as a kid, like the big time production and these big superstars right in your face coming at it and going at each other. The whole spectacle of it is what drew me in. So I love hearing that. Like, who were you drawn to as a kid? Growing up, who was your favorite wrestler, and who are you drawn to?
Oh shoot, that's a long list there, boss.
I know, I know. I mean,
Because that was back in the mid and late '90s and stuff like that. So I mean, everybody, of course, their top dog that they have is the Undertaker, of course, which was one of my favorites. But what a lot of people don't know is that Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio also were my top two as well. That got me intrigued, along with Stone Cold and The Rock and Mick Foley, and just all the old timers that intrigued me, especially Mick with Cactus Jack.
absolutely. I'm going to ask you questions about a bunch of those guys you listed off because it's a great thing. What you mentioned Taker first. I'm
Yeah.
guessing he's up there on your Mount Rushmore, one of your favorites.
Yep.
Version of the Taker is your favorite because from he's had a long career. So when you have a long career like that, you kind of got to reinvent yourself along the way.
Yeah.
So what Taker was your favorite?
I'd have to go with the Ministry of Darkness one. Was
Yes.
actually
Great
is
answer.
up there. And then the following one was when he went to the American Badass.
Okay.
But it was mainly the Ministry of Darkness one where he hung Stephanie McMahon, almost hung her up on the cross, and I actually have that tattooed on my right shoulder with the dragon tail wrapped around it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you are a Taker fan then.
Yes.
It's fair to say that. I would agree with you. Like I don't think Ministry of Darkness Taker gets enough respect. Like they always show his early stuff when he was, still, the cartoony Undertaker and then his later stuff, but they never really show a lot of his Ministry of Evil stuff. And I thought that was when he was at his most evil. And that is when he looked his most sinister. And he pulled that part off. So that's cool. I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'm glad you mentioned Taker, and I'm glad you mentioned that that was your favorite version of him.
Yeah, I agree. That is probably my favorite Taker as well. Ministry of Darkness all the way. Before Nick delves into the wrestlers that you have grew up with, what was that crystallizing moment for you that said, I got to be a part of this. I got to do this.
Oh, that would be everybody. I know probably you guys gotten this answer a lot, but it'd have to be the Mick Foley and Undertaker Hell in a Cell match.
Okay.
That got me, along with the storyline between The Rock and Stone Cold, and just all those guys back in the day just intrigued me. And sitting there watching it with my granddad when I was growing up, and my great grandmother and stuff, and being flung off her knee when she seen The Rock, it was it was one of those that I wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do it. I come from a military background with family generations of being in the military and serving this country. It wasn't for me at the time, so it was like I want to do this, and when I set my mind to it, I do it. So in July 31st of this year, I'm going on 16 years in the business.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Congratulations.
There you
That's
go.
fantastic.
Wow. And
look
how much the business has changed in those 16
Yes.
years.
Yeah, it's changed a lot with the technical and then the high flying. It's really changed, and just to see guys that I grew up watching like Ray still participating in it and still at his age keeping up with these guys is like phenomenal.
It blows my mind that a guy like Ray, who is he's 50 now, right? And
Something like that.
He's been in this business for several decades, and he's had several injuries, and he can still put on a good match. Like, obviously, It's not Halloween Havoc with Eddie Guerrero,
No.
1997, but my goodness, I'm not moving as good as I did in 1997, so I'll give him a pass on that. But he is still performing at a high level. I know he's out with an injury right now. And when you mentioned Eddie and Ray earlier, can you imagine if Eddie was still around and Dom was here?
Oh yeah, that storyline that they ran back then would be off the charts today.
Oh my goodness, that'd be perfect. That'd be like if I could do one, like do one thing that you can't obviously undo. I would book that. Have Eddie Guerrero still around so he could be a part of this Dominic and Ray thing. I would have loved to have seen it because I think they all would have fed off each other perfectly. And I think Dom would have been even more hated when he sided with Eddie, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Sean, I want to bring up two names that you didn't mention, and this is something that I want to start asking people more because it'll hit home with both me and Nick. In my opinion, there are two types of wrestling fans. There are Shawn Michaels fans and Bret Hart fans. Are you a Shawn guy or a Bret guy?
See, now you're putting me on the spot there because both of those are extreme talented guys. And the Montreal screw job was a phenomenal storytelling. But I have to go with Shawn only because I mean that's Mr. Main Event right there. So I'd have to side with Shawn Michaels on that one.
I can't fault you there. Nick might
No,
fault
I
you
won't
for
fault
it,
you.
but
I've been on record as saying I'm a Bret guy. I'm a Bret guy, but I've been on record as saying Shawn is the greatest in-ring performer we have ever seen.
Oh yeah.
I think Bret has to be talked about for best in-ring wrestling, but Shawn Michaels is by far the greatest performer of all in-ring performer of all time, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, and I got to agree with Nick. I mean that's Shawn's the greatest performer, but I mean to me, now if you were to ask me the best technical wrestler between the two, I'd have to go with Bret.
Right.
Oh, of course.
You know,
Without a
but
doubt.
best all around performer, I'd have to side with Shawn Michaels on that one.
For sure.
No, definitely without I can agree with that completely. Talk about so you had that moment where you just knew you had to do this. Talk about how you came into the business. If you can, talk about some of your training and what that first match was like for you getting in the ring after you were done training.
Growing up, I come from like I said before, a military family. Parents divorced, so it was just me, my mom, and my brother. Didn't really have that fatherly figure in my life, which caused me to be a troublemaker growing up at the age of 16 and forward. Got into a bit of a trouble after high school. Found MMA at first. Did that for 2 years before I blew my knee out. And then in '09, when I lived in Salt Lake City, Utah, I met a coworker who brought me to a company called UCW Zero out of Salt Lake City. Talked to the promoter, who was also the head trainer, along with a bunch of other guys. Some people you might know, or one that you guys might know, is Martin Casaus. He was known as Marty the Moth Martinez in Lucha Underground.
I have vague recollection of it. I've seen some episodes of it, and I've seen that face and heard that name. Yes.
Yeah. So he was also part of Stone Cold Steve Austin's Tough Enough series, where they were doing a pin drill. He actually did something to his ankle and had to take himself out of it to have surgery on his ankle. But in '09, I met Marty, and Marty was actually on top of the promoter and booker of UCW Zero, who also broke me into the business in '09. And the first match I had was July 31st of 2009, called the Rocky Mountain Rumble. Is actually still on YouTube. It's me in a pair of white tights with gold tribals on the side, and you can see my trainer, a guy by the name of Derek Janetti, Devin Payne, and then a good buddy of mine, Tyler Cintron, all grabbed me each by two arms and two legs and just tossed me up in the air. And that was the biggest bump I ever took in my first career match. And then since then, it's been a taken off moment for me, to where I've traveled from Utah down to Mississippi, where I met my other mentor, Chris Black. He polished me up and instilled the shut up and listen to the vets, listen to their advice and instill it. Been all up and down the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, all the way to Florida, where I met a guy named Heath, God rest his soul. I was coming off of another knee injury. He gave me a chance for his promotion of ACW combat wrestling down there in Port Richey, Florida. And then it's where I met my father-in-law, who at the time I didn't know was going to be my father-in-law, for SXPW. and then it's been a blast for the last 16 years, man. Like it's got me to see different states I've never been involved with or seen or been in. It's got me to do extra work for the E. It's got me to do extra work for TNA. So I mean, and it's actually where I met my wife, current wife now. So, and we co-own and run SXPW up here in Wyoming.
That's awesome. And you've just been all over the map. Let me ask you this: if you had to put a number, how many states have you been to so far?
Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are we talking about indie shows or are we talking about me doing extra work too?
Just in general.
And so that's 8. Oh damn. I'd say at least a little over 10. I got to go to Ohio will make number 11, and that's where I got to go for extra work on the 23rd of next month.
Oh, awesome.
Wow, you rattled off a lot of stuff there, so I'm going to process this little by little by little.
My bad.
I wanted to no. That's great. You just made my job a lot easier. What are you talking about? I want to talk about your home promotion that you run here in a little bit, but you talked about the WWE extra work, the TNA extra work. What's the coolest experience you've had with that? And, maybe some of the best advice or, things you learned from it.
So we're not really told to talk to the talent for extra work. But just to be back there with TNA, I helped out with setting up the ring and tearing it down and cleaning up. But just to sit there and watch the production side of things on how everything is done, and excuse me, to watch how they do conduct the backstage interviews, and just to be back there near Gorilla Pit, just to see everything and how everybody reacts with everybody and how everything is done is mind blowing. Because I mean, being a promoter myself, it's like, okay, I just got to have guys that are out of state coming in, just shoot a promo whenever they can and get it to me and I can post it. That's fine. You can do all that, but at the same time, it's like I never really knew that backstage interviews also matter and also help the production of promoting the show as well too.
For sure.
Well, without a doubt.
So I mean that's what I've learned a lot, and just being backstage at the E is mind blowing and shocking. Like the first time I did it was September 15th. It was Friday Night SmackDown in Denver, Colorado, and that was the first time I've ever done extra work, and it was mind blowing. Learned a lot, took in a lot, and then as we were leaving, because like I said again, we were not told to say hi or anything or talk to the staff or the workers and stuff. But as I'm leaving, Triple H, I'm passing him, and he says, "Have a good night." I had to stop because, to be honest with you, it's like, okay, I grew up watching you on TV.
Right.
I'm not supposed to talk to you. But I mean, it was one of those starstruck moments of quickly say something and quickly get the hell out of town. And it was, you too, sir, and just left. So, but he a lot taller and bigger in person than he looks on TV, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Okay. That's a cool moment. I mean, I think if I was your boss in that situation, I'd look the other way. Like, look, one of the biggest wigs of the number one promotion in the world is telling me to have a good night. I'm going to say, I'm not going to, stone cold him, and not say anything.
Oh yeah.
You got to say something.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have been in the same situation. I would have felt like I had to say something back, but I'd be like, yeah.
Oh, you would have went over there. You would have went over there and started giving him hugs, CZ.
Well, maybe a little.
Hey, you want to come on our show? Come on our show. No, that's cool.
Yeah, that's what you want to come on Card Subject to Change? We'll talk wrestling.
I want to talk. Your promotion that you're currently running with your wife. Talk about this promotion. Where it's located, where people can see, matches, stuff. I'm guessing you got Facebook page and whatnot for it. But yeah, I want to hear about this promotion that you and your wife are running.
So the promotion was started by my father-in-law and my mother-in-law. It's pretty much they started it because my father-in-law used to work with ECW before they went big time, before they went on cameras and all that kind of stuff. But they ended up releasing him from the company because my father-in-law literally stood 5 foot even, so he wasn't tall enough for them. So he started this company as for like the guys that were the outsiders of the wrestling business, the misfits is what they would call us. To give us, pretty much a home. They went on a hiatus for a little bit. When I moved back to Florida the second time, it was one of those. I talked to the wife, well, who we were just friends at the time, but we were talking back and forth, and I told her, I was like, hey, look, let's start running SXPW again. Let's because her dad was getting sick and we all knew it. We just didn't know how long he had left.
Sure.
So we started running shows again down in Florida. I was actually the only person that gave him his last entrance, his last in-ring thing. Because the first show we did, was I was the bad guy. I turned that way. And stuff. So he was his last entrance to come out on that show, and then our next show we gave him his last in-ring win. We did a battle royale, and all the guys of the locker room who he's really good friends with, that I booked, was one of those. Hey, let's give him this win of being the toughest guy of SXPW in the South.
Sure.
And there was no question in my mind of, if that's what y'all want, then we'll do it that way. Then we moved it up here, to Wyoming, because I had to come home up here because my mom had troubles. She shattered her ankle twice. So I had to move up here to help her out to get her back up on her feet.
Sure.
And then there's no wrestling in this state at all.
I was going to ask that here in a little bit about
there's none. Like there's a company out in Utah that comes out, but the furthest that they come inwards into this state is Evanston, Wyoming. So I'm not really too worried about on that side of things. But we started running up here last year, and it's just been phenomenal. Our first show, our first show was last year, and we did almost 300, if not a little over 300 people.
Wow.
And that's with having Chris Adonis on the card with us. And then we brought in Tom Latimer, and then we brought in both of them again. And then my wife ended up falling ill with a heart condition, so I'm trying to take care of her on top of wanting to do more shows up here because, I want to give back to the community. I didn't know back in the day if there was an indie wrestling promotion back when I was growing up, I would have been all over it a lot sooner. But I want to give something for the kids to come out to enjoy and do something rather than just stay at home and annoy their parents. The parents can bring them here on, once a month, every Saturday or Sunday night, they can come out and enjoy wrestling and have fun. And then I know if they go to school the following day, it's what they're going to be talking about. So then I'm going to have more people interacting with the show and the Facebook where they're going to come out. So it gives back.
I would imagine not having much wrestling out there that it's a it'd be a big draw for people to come to
in the town of Cheyenne. It's a big military community. We have the biggest Air Force base in the state. So and a lot of the retirees stay up here. So it's one of those that I have to tread carefully on what we do as far as shows wise and what we can and can't do, because I don't know the audience that well. I don't know what they're into and what, like, I mean, I see more of the older generation, people my age and up, coming out to these shows that we're putting on and stuff, and then just enjoying themselves. Like, and then and just to see the smile and the brightness in the elderly community side is freaking amazing to me. Because if I can at least make them happy and the kids happy, I'm golden right there.
Well, it sounds like whatever you're doing, you need to continue to do that, because it sounds like, you're getting a good audience at your show. You're getting good feedback and reaction from it. What did it feel like being the person that brought wrestling to where there's no wrestling at all?
It felt good, but it was also stressful at the same time.
I bet.
So, because being a promoter, it's one of those. Am I going to get the crowd? Am I going to get the crowd where I can pay for the venue, pay my guys, and all that kind of stuff, and that was my main worry when we did our first show last year was holy crap, am I going to be able to pay Chris Adonis his money, that I've already put in on top of paying everybody else in the venue. It's a lot stressful than what people don't realize.
I bet. That's the part of the wrestling world that not everybody's clamoring to learn about how to divide, making sure you're getting enough people in there to pay your talent so you don't have angry people. So yeah,
Oh,
I mean, you're taking on a responsibility, but I think being in the business as long as you've been and continue to be, you're well suited for it. It's not like you just woke up yesterday and decided to do this. You kind of have an idea how things go.
Oh yeah, but it's more of that on that side. I'm a worker, so it's like I don't have to stress about all that. Like, just tell me who's going over, how you want it done, and how long we got, and I'm golden. Being on the other side of it now, it's like, because to tell you the truth, I didn't want the books. I've never wanted the books. I never wanted my hand in it. Never wanted to, book a show at all. But my father-in-law, he wasn't well enough to book these people. He goes, I trust you enough, and hands me the books. He goes, you're booking the show. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So it's one of those things of, now I know why most bookers and promoters start losing their hair and stuff, and why it goes white and gray a lot. So
Right.
What was that first show that you had the book like? Talk about your experience, how your feelings, and how that show
that
went.
show was actually that was the first show that my father-in-law had his last entrance coming out, and it wasn't as stressful to find a venue, because finding a venue is easy, and working out a deal with them. So the venue that we did our first show at was the American Legion down in Hudson, Florida. And I worked a deal out with a guy named Bear, who was the commander of it. And because they had a tiki bar on the outside, because it was an outside venue. I'm like, okay, that's not an issue to me. I was like,
Right.
how about this? Why don't you open your tiki bar outside while we're doing the shows? Give me 100% of my own door and the concessions that I'm fixing to sell too, and then you can keep 100% of the alcohol that you're fixing to sell at this venue. And he goes, deal. And he only charged me, shoot, I don't want to put him on blast here, but it was actually a good deal for me to actually start running there. So, and then the first show that we did, coming back off of their hiatus for my father-in-law, we drew a little over 100 people down in Florida. But the thing with Florida is that that state is so oversaturated with wrestling. Like, you could literally stand at the promotion that I was running and throw a rock and hit another promotion. It was oversaturated. So it was rough trying to pick a day to run shows that wasn't colliding with another promotion.
Right.
Right.
And so we stuck on running the last Sunday, or was it the last Saturday? Yeah, the last Saturday of every month. We were stuck there because nobody else was running that Saturday or Sunday.
And
there you go. I mean, you when you have that much saturation of a market, you're pulling people in different directions. And I think as a fan, you want to get out and support these indies. And I know CZ and I try to get out as much as we can. And when like 2 or 3 of them have a show on the same night, it's kind of like, oh, what do I do?
Right.
I want to be in all 3 places at once. So yeah, that's got to be tough. But when you booked that show, your first show as the booker, how did everything go off? Or was there problems within the show that you had to, problem solve on the spot, or, did it run smooth?
As far as the matches go, it ran smooth. We did run into the normal technical issues with music and microphones and stuff like that, but that was an easy, quick fix. It wasn't a long process and stuff to where I had to postpone the show. But I mean, other than that, the matches went smooth. We had a good crowd that night. We actually had a good reaction too, because a lot of people at the assisted living home that I was working at actually came to that show. So
good.
Yeah.
It was good to hear their feedback the following day when I came into work.
Whether you wanted to hear it or not.
Yeah, whether I wanted to hear it or not, they were going to tell me.
What was their biggest compliment?
It was actually they said it was a moving, touching part at the main event when I was in it with a very good friend of mine that lives in PA. That came out for my father-in-law to work me, because of course my father-in-law had restrictions. He couldn't wrestle. So we played off of that. So he made the phone call from an ECW guy up north, which he's never worked for ECW, by the way. But came from the same area, and we worked in for him. And my biggest coworker said that was the coolest moment she's ever seen. She's never seen that ever happen in an indie show at all, or even in the big leagues.
That's awesome. That's got to be
cool.
A memory right there.
It is. That show. So that show, I'll have to get you the name of it. See, when the wife gets home from work, because I can't remember the dang name of it.
Yeah.
But I'll shoot you the link on it when she comes home, and I can ask her the question of when our first show was down in Florida, and you can see it.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
For sure.
We are talking with Sean O'Reilly, the Angel of Mercy, here on Card Subject to Change, podcast by the fan for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. Now, Sean, you talked earlier about a heel turn. I want to ask you, is it easier for you to work heel or face?
Ooh. So the beginning of my career, it was rough. So for majority of my career, I've always been a face no matter where I went. It was easier for me to be the face to get the crowd behind because, I'm Irish. I come out to the Irish beat. But when I turned heel down in Florida, it was actually a lot easier for me because I'm a natural born, I don't know if I could say this, but an A word outside of wrestling. Like that's just my that's just my persona. I'm a natural asshole. Like I don't like people. Sure. I don't like interacting with people. So it was natural as I got more years in and started seeing my mentors on how they acted as a heel. And people I grew up watching and just studying them and stuff. It started to come natural for me. So I actually enjoy being the bad guy. Like it's fun. It's like literally less work that I got to do. So I enjoy it.
Right.
But companies have their different personas on how they want me to be, and I and my wife laughs at me. She goes, "You don't like people, but yet when you're a face in the wrestling business," she goes, "You're amazing." I was like, because when I walk through the curtain, I'm not me. I'm not my shoot name. I'm literally Sean O'Reilly as soon as I walk through them curtains, and he doesn't care if he's around people or not. He'll be nice to him if he has to. He'll be the biggest a-hole you'll ever meet if he has to be. It's just whatever the promoter wants.
Let me ask you. You talk about coming out of the curtain, Sean O'Reilly. You hear the fans roaring. Some people do, some people don't. When you're in the ring, are you feeding off of the fans? Are you hearing them cheering, or are you just kind of zeroed in on what you're doing?
The biggest thing that I was taught coming up in this business is always to listen to the crowd. you have to listen to them, because if you don't listen to them, you don't know if you need to go home during the match. You don't know if you need to go home early or if you can keep on going. And I think that's what a lot of these new generation people are not understanding. This is that you have to listen to the crowd. You have to feed off the crowd, because if you don't, you can go out there and have a 10-12 minute match, and if the crowd's not behind you, you can have an amazing match, a 5-star match that night, but with zero to no crowd interaction, what was the point of it? What was the point? You didn't
Right.
feed into the crowd. You didn't, chant with the crowd. You didn't get the crowd behind you. You did all these cool little moves and stuff like that, but for what reason to like not have the crowd be more into your match? Like, there's just no point in it. So I always listen to the crowd, no matter if I'm the good guy, the bad guy. It's always, I gotta listen to the fans, because if the fans are telling me this is not fun anymore, then it's time to go home and take it home.
And that's a great point. That's a fantastic point. I think I blah, if I can stop stammering like an idiot. See what happens, Nick. You leave and I become a blithering idiot all the time.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
But no, that's something I've noticed of the younger generation is they don't necessarily pay attention to what's going on. Some people do, and it really feels like it's more of an art form, but at the same time, it's something you have to do.
We are talking with Sean O'Reilly here on the Card Subject Change podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, we are powered by Low Pies Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. I'm Never Wrong Nick Bull. He is with the Wizard CZ. We have Sean O'Reilly in the studio with us. Sean, how from day one of wrestling to now, what has changed the most for you in ring?
Oh, the going from the high flying to using more of my MMA training now into the ring, being more technical and stuff, because I'm not getting any younger. I'm getting older, so I can't do the, what they call it now, the flippity floppity stuff anymore. Like I can do some of it, but I mean, I can't. I'm not a Ricochet or Kenny Omega to where I can, or Rey Mysterio or any of those guys to where I can do it constantly. Like, I want a longevity career, like the Undertaker, like how 30 years he's been doing it, and he done one high flying move, and it was over the top rope. Other than that, he had a long 30 years, like, and then that's what I want, it's just more of a longevity career. So I had to switch it up from doing more of the high flying to being more of the technician in the ring, and the guy that has to slow down the match, because I'm not running my butt off.
You mentioned longevity, and I know you said you've been in the business 16 years now. Is there anyone that you haven't faced, whether they are past or present, that you would like to step in the ring?
I haven't faced my actual first teacher, my actual first trainer, Martin. I have not faced him, and I'm trying to work out with my company on how to get him out here to where I can actually have that match with them and have a student versus teacher match and stuff.
Okay.
Other than that, I mean, I'm always open to working everybody and anybody. Like the Slave of the Death match that we do down here in Denver once a year in September, I got to work Necro Butcher for the first time.
Ooh.
And that match you can actually see on YouTube as well too.
How was that?
It was rough.
I want to talk about this.
Necro actually, like, legitimately hits. But when you're in the business as long as Necro or me or any guy, you could tell the difference between a work or a shoot. And his hits are literally a work. but I've never been rocked a day in my life in wrestling in the almost 16 years of my career, and I got rocked by Necro Butcher after about the third punch.
Oof.
And you can actually see it on you can actually see it on the video that was recorded, and it's on YouTube. Just look up Sean O'Reilly versus Necro Butcher, and it will pop up, and you'll see about the third punch. You can actually see me leaning more towards my right side.
How did the rest of the match go after that
Good.
third punch?
Necro was trained the old school way. So it was one of those. I thought the promoter of Primo's Premier Pro Wrestling, where I mainly go to now, I thought he was ribbing me when he says that I literally have to lay my stuff in with Necro or it's going to be trouble for me. And it wasn't a rib; it was actually a real comment. But I mean, after I started laying my stuff in and stuff, the match went smooth after being rocked once. I was like, okay, we have to work this way. There's no way around it. So we're gonna work this way. And if I hurt you on accidental, I will apologize in the locker room, but we will go forward.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun though, working him. And he said I was one of the easiest guys and the most impressive guys that he has ever worked in a long time.
That's a hell of a compliment. That's
Coming
awesome.
from him, it meant a lot.
Well, that's a guy that's been doing
Still
it for
doing
how long?
Yeah.
Still doing it.
Yeah, he just came back from a tour in Japan.
And people know who he is.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Or no, Scotland.
Sure.
He was in Scotland when he just came back from over there. He did a tour over there with Mickey Knuckles and God, why can I not remember his name? He wrestles for JCW. He's an older guy. I can't remember his name. No, not Nick Gage. It was Mickey Knuckles, and he kind of looks like PCO but shorter and has hair, but doesn't go by the name of PCO. But he wrestles in JCW. He doesn't. No.
Jimmy Lloyd.
Oh shoot! Hold on, I'll tell you his name right now. I got my computer in front of me. What was his name?
While Sean runs that down, I am never Nick Bull. He is the Wizard CZ. This is Card Subject to Change. We are the podcast by the fan for the fan. Episode 194 with our new wrestling buddy who is in Wyoming, Sean O'Reilly.
Oh, this is going to drive me insane. I'm going to have to ask my wife when she gets home or when we get off the this.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, that's cool. But people know who the Necro Butcher is. That is, people know that. That's a story you can tell. And that's,
it's a match that
cool,
I can show for a lifetime too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
That's the first thing I'm looking up when I get off. We get off the show here.
Same here. Same here. Sean, do you have your eye on the current product? Are you watching WWE, AEW, or any of the bigger indies?
I watch it when I can. I with my shoot job, I have a hard time with watching a lot of the TV. So my research comes from like the TikTok or Facebook reels, like Zoe Stark's knee injury. I wish her speedy recovery and stuff because that looked nasty.
That was brutal.
And the guy that's a guy that's had 3 knee injuries to the same knee and stuff. It's not it hurts. So I wish her a speedy recovery from it. But I mean, a lot of I think my favorite segment so far is got to be Jacob Fatu and Solo on top of the Judgment Day's stuff going on right now.
Okay. Absolutely. That's
that Judgment Day stuff's coming to a head, and so is that stuff with Fatu and Solo. I mean, it's just the days are numbered there between before the fireworks explode between those two. When you go back and I know you don't watch a lot of the current product, you catch up with it on social media and stuff. what is your favorite show to go back and watch?
No, it's gotta be Raw. I've always been a Red Brand guy. I've always been down.
Right. Okay, Raw for TV, but what about your favorite like pay-per-view or show of all time that you like go back and watch, or a show you go back and watch? Doesn't have to be your favorite of all time, just a show you go back and watch a lot. This is my way of asking the guest, hey, what are you watching? So I can go check out what you're watching. I'm always looking for something to watch.
I go back and so my sister-in-law, she watches a lot of the pay-per-views, the old school style pay-per-views. But me, I go back to it's just different varieties of shows for me. And that's only because that's where I pick up new things that I can try at training. And then it's also too of you never stop learning how, especially how psychology in wrestling came from back in the 60s and 70s to what it is today. So it's like a history for me. To go as far back as I can and to go all the way to today's date. Because I'm a history fanatic, so I love watching the old school type of stuff, like the Von Erichs and all the old school people back in the 80s, and just learn the psychology. Because you can never stop learning the psychology point of everything. And then also trying to learn new moves to where I can implement it in my new style of wrestling to this day. So I don't really have a favorite. It's just going back and learning and watching. No,
ain't nothing wrong with that.
No. And I'll say it because Ric Flair said it back in the day. He goes, "The day I stop learning in this business is the day I need to hang up my boots."
Right.
Exactly.
There's always something to learn.
Now, you said something that piqued my interest there. You said you're always looking to learn new moves to add to your repertoire. What's the most recent thing you've added in that you've watched recently?
Ooh, that would have to be the new one. Is I'm trying to perfect is Jacob Fatu's top rope moonsault off of it, where he sits on it and springs backwards and everything. I can do the split legged one like RVD, but I mean, just to learn, the Christopher Daniels and Jacob Fatu's way of doing it is kind of the one that I'm learning right now. And more submissions of William Regals.
Yes. Love Regal.
He's
Love
actually,
Regal.
as a guy for him that's been around as long as he has and been into two different promotions. When I first met Regal was actually when I was doing extra work, and I met him in I think it was in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He actually pulled all of us extra workers on the opposite side of hard cam, sat with us, and just started talking to us. Not asking us questions. He just started talking to everybody, and then just goes, "If you guys got questions, ask me now." And just to hear him talk and the knowledge that he has is phenomenal. It's one of those that I wish I can have one training session with him.
Oh, absolutely. I would have loved to be a part of that conversation. That had to be fantastic.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I would have been totally digging that, man. I think that's a guy that's so underappreciated. Love going back and watching his stuff. I love his blue blood, that whole blue blood gimmick in WCW, man. He was so good at it. It made you hate him. Oh, he was good. He was good.
Well, Sean, we're getting, I believe, about 49 minutes talking to you, about 50 minutes. We like to be respectful of everybody's time. Try and keep things to an hour or less. But before we let you off the hook, got to know where people can find you on socials, especially on YouTube, where we can see some of your matches and where you're going to be in the coming weeks.
So social, you can find me on Facebook and X or Twitter. I don't have an Instagram. I'm actually trying to recover my account that got hacked. So I'm not on Insta yet. You can find me. You can find most of my matches on YouTube. It's a little tricky. You have to type in Sean O'Reilly Wrestling. But there'll be like I got Kyle O'Reilly's mixed in with mine, and Shane O'Connor or Shane O'Connor or something like that mixed in. A lot of my old school tapes are on there, from when I first broke in and started wearing. After I wore the tights, I was wearing a kilt straight out. So that was interesting. Um, but this week I got actually a tournament in Denver, Colorado. It's a 2-day event. It's the Alpha 9 tournament, and for Primo's Premier Pro Wrestling, you can actually find that on Triller, which used to be known as Fight TV. It's on Triller. It's a 2-day event.
Yep.
It starts Saturday night and it goes all the way to Sunday, where it's 10 guys in this tournament trying to get to that top dog spot. So, and it's a good long list of people. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on that now that I know somebody's gonna be on that show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got
I
a show.
agree.
Gonna
Yeah,
check it
and then
out.
like I said, I got Ohio for Monday Night Raw, June 30th or June 23rd in Columbus. So I don't know if we'll be used on that one. I don't know if they'll use extra workers. It's kind of hit or miss on that one. Sometimes they'll use us, sometimes they won't. If they don't use us, then I sit and cater it and eat good food all day, all night. So it's all right because I'm still making money regardless if they use me or not.
Sure,
Right,
sure.
right.
So.
We'll end on this note. Is there any advice you have for the younger talent? Anything you've been told that stuck with you that you would pass on to them, or what really stands out that you would tell the newer generation coming into the
Leave your ego to the side, leave it outside. Shut up and listen to the vets when they're trying to help you out and give you the advice and to help you elevate your career. I mean, that's been instilled in me since the second year I've been in the business. When I got down to Mississippi in my second year, and that's what Chris Black instilled into me, and it's helped me out more times than I can count. It's opened doors for me, and it can open up for them too if they just keep their mouth shut and listen. To these guys that have been in 20 plus years. Like, I don't consider myself a vet. As long as I've been in. I'll never consider myself that way. I will still, if a person's been in a year longer than me, it's you're the vet. I'm listening to you, what you want me to do. And if
Right.
if we can get more people that are coming into this business nowadays like that, the wrestling scene would be a whole lot better, and there'd be less egos.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Completely. Well, Sean, this has been a lot of fun. So I want to thank you for coming on and shooting the shit with us about wrestling. Definitely would love to have you back down the road if you just want to come talk wrestling with a couple of old
Always
farts.
willing to talk wrestling. It's the best thing in my life.
Well, we're going to put a bow on this episode. Again, thank you, Sean O'Reilly. We appreciate you being part of Card Subject to Change. For my tag team partner, Never Wrong, Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. This is Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Again, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. We will be back on Monday. We'll be talking Battleground and Double or Nothing. Big weekend here, Memorial Day weekend. And since those shows are both Sunday, we're going to bring our show on Monday afternoon.
Correct.
So stay tuned to socials for that. But until then, go enjoy your wrestling. Have a good rest of your night.
And you guys as well.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.